Hi everyone, it's Katie. I'm coming to you live from the editing booth, aka my living room couch. I just had a slight disclaimer before you listen to this episode that I unfortunately did not plug in my microphone before we started recording. So my sound quality is not the best. Becca sounds lovely and beautiful, but I don't. They sound a little strange together, having two different audio qualities, so I'm very sorry for that inconvenience. I didn't want to completely scrap the episode because we had put in work and research into our topics, and so I didn't want to completely trash them, but I didn't want to re-record because I wanted to keep our genuine reactions to things. I did try to clean the audio up to the best of my ability, but I'm not a professional, so it's not perfect, but you do get used to it after a little while, so if you'll please just bear with us for this episode. I promise that the next episode and from here on out, the audio quality will be the same between both of our microphones. So sorry about that, but it's still a good episode. I love the topics that we picked, so hopefully you can still get some enjoyment out of it, even though it might sound a little funky. So enjoy the episode. Bye! Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is the I Love This podcast, where me and my sister Becca say hi.
Hello, everyone.
We talk about whatever we've been loving lately, whether that's a movie, TV show, music, video games, whatever we're obsessed about or that we're really loving. I feel like that's the smoothest intro we've had thus far. So we're getting better, everyone. We're improving, we're practicing, we're less nervous about it. Thank you for bearing with us if you've been listening this whole time. Thank you for coming back. Truly, we are so excited to be doing this, and we've been having a lot of fun. And so we're just very appreciative of anyone that's tuning in. So welcome. We hope you like it here. Is Teddy misbehaving?
Yes.
Teddy is Rebecca's dog.
Oh
And
my
he
goodness.
likes to start to act up once we hit record.
Yeah. He's like, oh, something's happening. I can be naughty now.
Yeah.
It's like a giant candy corn fluffy toy. And it crinkles. But then he found the squeaker in it. And he just likes to go to town with the squeaker.
Well, I wanted to say that it is mid-October for us as we're recording this. And here in Utah, we've had a record warm October. It has been in the 80s every day of October thus far.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, I think they started keeping records in like the mid-1800s or something here, and we have not had an October this warm in the entire written record that we have. So that's lovely, and climate change is, happening, which is scary. But today it is overcast and it is rainy, and the high is like 60. And I feel like I've had a hard time getting into the spooky season because it's been so warm. Because it's usually pretty chilly here in October. And so I'm glad that we're finally getting our fall weather. And the leaves are changing, which is really nice. Me and my fiance went and drove up one of the canyons about 2 weeks ago to go look at all the fall leaves. And I'll have to send you pictures, Becca, because it was really, really pretty. And it was really fun. And getting that like fresh mountain air and in the quiet, it was really, really nice. I will probably talk about this at some point because I really, really love this. But it's Over the Garden Wall. It was a Cartoon Network short series that came out like 10 years ago. And it's very cute and very cozy. You should watch it. I think you would really like it. It's about these brothers who on Halloween get lost. And it's really, really sweet and very, very fall. So I think I might watch that and have something cozy.
I know. I love the cold. I welcome the cold. I might not like driving in snow, but that's about the only thing I don't like.
Yeah, me neither.
The cold is my bestest friend. Me and Teddy went on a morning walk in the rain, and it was fantastic.
That sounds so nice.
Now my hair's all curly, and he's all wet.
Yeah, when my alarm went off this morning, I thought it was like wrong or something because it was still so dark. I was like, surely it's not 8 o'clock already. It's like still dark outside, but nope, it was 8 o'clock. It's just very overcast today. Well, I'm going first today, right?
No, I'm going first. You intro. We alternate. You intro, me go, you go, me outro.
You went last time. Oh, so you go.
Yeah, so I go first.
Oh,
this
okay.
time.
Okay. I don't know why I was so confused about that. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Sorry.
It's
Go
okay. It's
ahead.
okay. We are still working out the system, and I still have a hard time remembering what to do for what. Okay. So the topic I picked this week I'm very excited about because it's a new discovery and I've been obsessed over it for the last week. I know. But I also realize I'm very late in the game of liking this because it's been around for a while. But I don't want to reveal too much in the beginning because I kind of want to do a sort of hinting thing. So I'm going to just give a couple details. And obviously, I don't know that you're going to know what this is, Katie, but it's also more
Okay.
for the listeners.
It's a fun little game.
And it's like going to be 3 questions. So the first hint for what this is the person that's done it, main person that we'll be talking about. And I'm going to try and not butcher this name. So his name is Jorge Rivera Herranz, I think.
Okay.
That doesn't ring any bells for you,
It
right?
sounds vaguely familiar.
Do you remember Homer's Odyssey?
Like the really old story?
The old story that you had to
Greek
learn
mythology.
in whatever grade, the Greek mythology, yes. All of that. There's your second hint.
Okay.
Still not ringing any bells for you, right?
No.
I know. It's weird. It's weird. Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna throw in musical in there. Those are like your 3 hints.
Is it Hadestown?
No.
No, okay, because I don't know anything about that musical, but I think it has something to do with like Greek mythology. Okay, wait, hold on, I want to think about it for a second longer.
Well, okay, I'll give you a little extra because you did mention Hadestown. He does talk about it being that has some influence in this, but it's not that.
Then I don't think I know what it is.
Okay. So this is a thing, and I will give more details in a minute. But it's called Epic the Musical.
Oh, okay.
So it is like a musical. He's done the concept album. It's on Spotify, and you should go listen to it because it's amazing. But he wrote this musical that's a depiction of Homer's Odyssey. Okay. There's actually a really funny video he made where he's like, I dare somebody to just do their homework for the Odyssey off of his musical. But he's also like, don't do it, you will fail. Like, it will not help you.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Okay, so there is a wiki fandom on this, and so I wanted to read a little bit from it just to give better context because I don't think I could phrase it better. So, Epic the Musical is a musical adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey created by Jorge Rivera Herranz. The creation of the musical was documented through his TikTok. And song clips and the process videos have gone crazy. He's gotten like 60 million views on TikTok, so he's super famous now because he's done all of this. And then here's where you realize how old this has been. He started working on the musical around June of 2019.
Oh, wow.
So it's been in the making for a long time, and I had no idea it existed until now. But he did it while in college. For his senior thesis, he wanted to create a musical that was inspired by like video games and anime and stuff that he likes. And then in 2021, he uploaded the first video on TikTok where he was introducing his musical and showed, older drafts of the songs and things that he's done. And then, it began to be this whole thing. Well, then it moved on, and he ended up like getting a cast for this whole thing. Like, he ended up doing auditions for characters, and now there's like this whole cast and set of people, and then he's been slowly releasing stuff as it goes. So he has it broken down into sagas. There are 7 that he's done already. You can listen to them on Spotify, and there are 2 that are on the way. And the exciting thing about this, even though it will have already been out by the time that this episode comes out, is that supposedly the next section is going to be released on Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really excited about that. But it will already be out, so you can already go listen to it. So you should, because it's so good. And so there's so many videos all over the place. I don't have a TikTok, so I've been going mainly off of YouTube, but there is a million videos. It is amazing. There's kind of the background, there's kind of the general idea of what that is. The other thing that I thought was crazy is he actually, in 2013, he created his own company.
Wow.
Winyan Entertainment, I think is how you say that. So now he has his own company too. So he's just like doing all the amazing things. So anyways, I found this through YouTube. One of the songs ended up in my feed, and I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. and I fell in love with it. And then I realized that there was this whole like saga, and then I listened to the whole album,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my gosh, it's so good. You know, we like musicals. We go to musicals. We've seen like the Beauty and the Beast musical,
Mm-hmm.
and Lion King, and
Lion King was amazing, by the way, when we saw the
Lion King
Broadway
is the
tour.
best.
But
Fair, fair, fair,
we
fair.
also saw back in August, Hamilton was here for the summer, and that was incredible.
Mm,
Hamilton is one of my favorite musicals. Do you remember my Hamilton phase?
yes, I
I
do.
had a big Hamilton phase back in, I think it was 2020 or something. I
Mm-hmm.
know almost every word to the whole entire soundtrack. I spent way too much money at the merch table at the show. Way too much. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I spent too much money. Um,
That's okay. You gotta enjoy.
and yeah, we went and saw Mary Poppins. That was really good.
Yeah.
What else have we seen? I know you guys went and saw Cinderella.
I saw The Little Mermaid with our sister. Me and mom went and saw this like country music one. What was it called? May We All. That's what it was called.
Oh,
Oh, it was
okay.
so good. It like, I mean, obviously it has like, you know, a typical musical storyline, but then a lot of the songs in it are just like general country music artist songs. Like Luke Combs was in it,
Mm,
so you like recognize them, and it's kind of weird to
yeah,
hear them in like musical format, but oh, it was so good.
it was good.
But yeah, so like overall, we're big musical people. We go see musicals.
Yeah,
Musicals are
we like
fun,
musicals.
and
Hmm.
I so desperately want to see this musical. Like obviously, I don't even know if there's a script.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the album audio tracks, but oh my goodness, the amount of work that this man has put into this, I can't believe. The dedication, the
Yeah.
thought processes, is that even a word? But it's like some of his videos, he, you know, goes into more depth about explaining like why things are set up the way they are. Like he has
Hmm.
certain instruments that are kind of like key to a character. So you're going to hear that instrument mainly in like the audio when that character's around. There's all the, you know, sound effects. Like it feels like a full-on real production that Broadway would like
Hmm.
put on. But and I mean, I don't know if there's other people involved besides just him as far as the actual like putting everything together. But like he's written most of the songs and he's done a good amount of the work, and I can't believe that, because
Yeah.
I'm like I could not just go do that and make it great.
Yeah, kind of
Um,
like a self-starter project where he's like, I want to make this thing, and he just like puts in all of the work. And I'm sure
yeah.
there's other people involved, now that he has a cast and is kind of working towards making it a full like production. I'm sure there's a whole team of
Mhm.
people, but I think it ultimately comes down to probably him doing a lot of it. And that does remind me of Lin-Manuel Miranda with Hamilton, like that he was his own
Mhm.
project. And I don't know, I think it was like over a decade that it was kind of in the making. And obviously he was working on other stuff, but it was like he kept coming back to this idea of Hamilton and just slowly
Mhm.
chipping away at it over the years. And so it kind of reminds me of that because that has so much heart in it, and that's why people love it so much. And so it's kind of cool with this that you're seeing it happen in real time. And TikTok is such a good avenue for stuff like that to get, just a regular old person could kind of start this project and to get fans excited about it before the show's even done. I think that's so cool
Mhm.
that that can happen now and that there's a platform for stuff like that. And I mean, who doesn't love the story of I just started making this thing and it's gained a lot of steam and people are
Mhm.
loving it already. And now I have this whole big production on my hands when it just started as an idea that I had. I always love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of that great thing, and I think that's one of the pluses of like the internet and social media these days is those people that are kind of just the self-starters, and like maybe eventually if I work hard enough like it can get to this big thing, they end up hitting that way early. And of course it's surprising because you don't expect that, because you're like, I don't know, I don't even know if people are gonna like this type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
um and well, and it's the cool thing is that I think he's written, because I think the whole saga in and of itself is going to be 40 songs, like that's the
Oh,
total.
wow.
And in one of the videos I watched, he had already written like 80 songs. Like
Oh my
there's so
gosh.
like over there's like another 40 songs that he like has cut or like rewritten, or because it didn't fit what he wanted. And he just kind of had these TikToks of like, "Hey, audition for this role." And then gives you like the instrumental version of the music to follow along with and sing. And so I know a lot of like your voice actors and people like that are kind of freelance, you know, trying to get their like good popular start. I'm sure a lot of people picked up on that, and I'm assuming that's where most of the people that ended up on there came from, but I don't actually know. I don't want to ruin the whole theme of the musical. I don't want to ruin all the details of what actually happens, because even though it is based off of Homer's Odyssey, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember that. I have no idea what goes on in that besides the Trojan horse thing. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah.
From that. And at the same time, I don't know how close that adaptation is to the musical. Like, I don't know how close it actually falls in line with all of the events in that, because I don't think he could fit all of that in.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple favorite songs, and I'm not going to explain what goes on in the songs, but I just want to tell you the titles of the songs. So when anybody listens to them, they can be like, oh yes, this was a favorite. So there's quite a few, and I feel like every time I keep listening to it, I find new ones that I'm like, oh yes, this does sound nice. The main section is like the last, because so everything's split up into sagas, right? And there's 7 sagas total, and there's only a handful of songs in each saga. He also has like over 200,000 saves on Spotify for this album. So, I mean, not shocking, but also popular.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta save it so that I can listen to it, because I'm definitely going to after this.
You must. Oh, it's so good. So the main section is the last saga that he has posted right now was the main one that I got sucked into from. I believe God Games, which is the last one in that one, was the one that I listened to first. That's the original song that I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. And then other stuff started popping up, and I'm like, let's look at it. The storyline in this last saga was what sucked me in. I was like, ooh, I want to see what happens next. And then when I pulled it up and realized that it was the last one that got posted, I'm like, man, I'm going to have to wait for the rest of it. Dang it. But it made a lot more sense listening to the other sagas because they reference stuff from there that goes into that one. But honestly, I feel like majority of the ones in this last saga are the ones that I like the most. Little Wolf was, I think, the second one that I fell in love with, because I don't know, it's written so well, and I love it, and it's great, and I like the way he composed it. There's also the Legendary one, which is the first one, and that one is really cute. I really like how he lined that one out. And then the other two will be Fine and Love in Paradise. Those ones are good. I don't dislike them, but they're less of my favorites. The other one is it's the Circe one. It's the 4th one in there. And again, I don't remember all of the gods and goddesses and their powers and all of that. I don't know. I don't invest that much. But the songs in those ones are really good. I've listened to Done For quite a couple times, and it's mainly because of the song that comes before it, which is the one that I've been listening on repeat all the time. I'm so addicted to it. You know when you like find that song and you love it so much that you just like constantly listen to it, constantly want to listen to it. It's stuck in your head all day long. That is this song. Part of it, I think, is the composition of the actual song and just the way that it's written out. It's just catchy, and I love it. But then the other part of that is the person that sings it. Okay, no idea who this dude was until this, but I've also snooped through his YouTube, and he makes some decent songs. And he's also really funny. But, hold on, let me pull up his name real fast. So he plays Hermes, who is the messenger dude, you know? That's pretty much all the spoilers I'm going to give you. So he sings this song to the main character, which is Odysseus. I'll give that away because that's obvious. And I don't even know how to say his last name, so this is going to be really butchered. But his first name is Troy, and his last name is, oh gosh, Tahirti, I think? I don't know. It's hard. I think his YouTube is just titled Troy, I think. He's a cute dude with curly hair who can sing. But I don't know what it is. But that song, oh, I'm addicted to it. I've listened to it
Yeah.
so much. I have a lot of these songs already memorized because I listened to them
Oh, wow.
on repeat. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Um,
I know. I just pulled up the album on Spotify and wow, it is
mhm.
long, but even just the art on the album, I'm like,
I know.
even that alone has me hooked. Okay, I'm so
Mhm.
excited to listen to this because I love mythology stuff. That is so interesting
Yeah,
to me. So I'm
it's
excited to
so
listen to
good.
that.
It's so well composed. Like for someone being like this is a personal project, it's so professional. Which like
Mm-hmm.
obviously it blew up and it's become this big production, so obviously now it is professional, but I feel like he started that from the get-go. Like it's not like it was going to be just this like cute idea thing where he made it somewhat, professional, but not like ready for top tier. We can make a musical and just get going straight off the bat with these songs. But yeah, the art is amazing. It's funny because Jorge specifically says he's like, I am not an artist. I cannot do art.
Yeah.
He gave like a teaser to the artwork for the next saga, and he like drew it on this tablet, and it is really bad. But
Yeah.
that's the whole part of the funniness. But it was so funny because he's like, so here, there's like this big rock, and then here's this trident, and then he's trying to look at it at us, and it's just like this blank page because we
Oh.
just see white, and he's
Yeah.
like, and you can't see it, so here we
Yeah.
go, and he tried to adjust it. Anyways, it's so funny. He's hilarious, and there's so many videos. There's so many videos of him and people and even with some of the cast singing the songs and things, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's composed. Everyone needs to go listen to it. Please, 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 please. It's so good.
Okay, I have a
Um
question.
okay, I have an answer hopefully.
Okay, because we've talked about in
Yes.
a previous episode how you're not on Instagram or TikTok, you just use Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Would
Mhm.
you would you ever get a TikTok to get those updates in real time? Or is it not worth it to you?
I don't know because I feel like I get enough updates on YouTube to be honest.
Oh, okay.
There's a
Yeah.
decent amount of people that post. I mean, I guess they're not specifically his posts, so that's less convenient. Um, but at the same time, I kind of want the next saga to be a little bit more of a mystery because I think most of the songs in the next saga, I don't think he's revealed like the whole album. Like it's not like you can go and find each song that he's talked about and be able to listen to the whole thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of want to keep it a mystery. That's kind of where I feel right now.
You want to be
Like obviously
surprised?
I have teasers for some from just like going through and listening to stuff and all of that, but I'm kind of like I just kind of want to wait. Like I can wait till Halloween and listen to the all of the next one
Yeah,
at that
I get
point.
that. I get kind of wanting to keep it kind of a surprise for yourself,
Yeah.
and kind of go into it not knowing a whole lot.
Mhm. Yeah. I will say though, there's and I don't know if it's in this next saga or if it's in the one after that because he's already started working on the other one and I think he's done a little bit of teasers for that, but I'm not sure. But there is another song that Hermes sings called Dangerous that isn't released yet, and I've listened to that one a couple times
Mm,
because it's
yeah.
and it's so good. I love it.
What is that song called again? I know you already said it, but
It's called Wouldn't You Like?
okay. That was really, really good. Becca just played me a
Yeah.
sneak preview of that song, and I loved it. And
Yeah.
okay, here's the thing, is
No,
that sometimes it takes me two or three listens to a song to decide if I like it or not. It's
Mhm.
not super often that I like a song right off the bat, but I liked that
Mhm.
right off the bat. And I can see it. I can see the vision. I get it. I'm with you. I can,
Mhm.
and you're
Mhm.
right, it
Mhm.
does
Mhm.
feel very like professional and like this could be a real,
Mhm.
you know, musical. For any listeners who listen to that song, I really, really loved it when the piano came in and it gave me chills. So
Mhm. Mhm.
watch out for that. I almost felt a little jazzy, but not
Which
quite.
it's not all of it. Like it's pretty much just his. I feel like every character has it's got a unique style to it, and it's not the whole. So the jazzy bit that you're kind of like, it's not really great at times, but that's not even the whole thing because it's all
Yeah.
different depending on what you're looking at.
I love it when individual characters kind of have their own, like, you know, when it's their song. You're like, okay, yes, this sounds
Mhm.
like this character. I really, really love
Yeah.
it when they're that well thought out. And it feels
Mhm.
very cohesive. when things are laid out that way and when each character kind of has their own style. So I love that. And
Mm-hmm.
plus, it keeps the musical feeling fresh and fun. It doesn't feel like the whole thing is kind of all the same sort of music. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of that perfect blend of it all feels cohesive because everyone kind of has their individual style, but at the same time keeps it fresh enough so that you don't get bored or you don't think, okay, this song sounded like the last six songs, and they're all kind of blending together in my head at this point. So I love that.
And that's the like great thing is I feel like I mean obviously, you know, you're gonna pick people that are good singers, but I feel like they also are really great about expressing their character through their voice because obviously realistically in a musical there's gonna be, you know, voice lines and just a typical script that they're gonna follow, but just like the amount of character that comes out in just a song with just a good vocalist, it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
The lady that voices Athena is fantastic. Poseidon is really interesting. That was, to me, that was an interesting choice. I wasn't completely on board with it at first, but after listening a couple times, I'm like, actually, that was a really good pick. And I kind of forgot to mention, which is a big part of it, Odysseus, who's the main character in the whole plot thing, is voiced by Jorge. And Jorge's voice is fantastic. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It always kind of surprises me. So he was the other voice in there that wasn't Hermes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I want to see this musical so bad. I'm like, can we come out
Yeah.
with the musical already? Can we have like
Yeah.
opening times and I will travel wherever?
Yeah. Hopefully it actually, I mean, it sounds like it will eventually
Mm-hmm.
like get off the ground enough to where they actually start doing like the real stage show. But it sounds
Yeah.
like they have a really, really good start.
Yeah, with all the popularity and then I mean the quality is fantastic. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just so well thought out. And oh, I love it so much. So that's been my obsession over last week. Like instead of like pulling out my regular music, I've been like just hip hopping between a bunch because it's so good.
I can see why. I can already just listening to that one song, I can already see
Mm-hmm.
myself getting hooked.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. It
this
is
might
great.
very well also be my new obsession for the next week.
Mm-hmm. But then we can talk about it and be
Yeah.
excited about it, and it'll be
Yeah.
great. I will say though, as sort of a caution, it is pretty sad. The
Oh,
beginning is very
okay.
sad. Like the
Yeah.
first couple sections, you're just like, man, and a couple bits, and when you keep re-listening to it, you fall in love with characters, and you're like, I don't like what's happening here.
Yeah.
Can we be done with this?
Yeah.
So it is kind of sad. But you know, we're also talking about the Odyssey, and we're talking about Greek stuff, so that's kind of
Yeah.
a typical theme with
Yeah.
that. I can't wait for the next set. So we're gonna have to talk about this more when you listen to it
Yes,
because
we
it's
will.
worth it. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I have for that.
Well, good job. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, today I'm going to talk about a movie, and I wish I had a fun little guessing game also, but
That's okay.
that was really fun that what you did there at the
I just
beginning.
wanted to see if you knew what I was talking about because I'm like, I'm gonna say his name, and you're gonna be like, I already know what this is, and I'm gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Never mind then. So the movie I'm going to talk about is Fantastic Mr. Fox from 2009.
Oh my gosh.
Have
Okay.
you seen this?
I have not seen it, but I recognize you saying that. I don't
Okay.
remember, but that title sounds familiar.
Okay. Yeah, you would definitely recognize it. So this is from Wikipedia, our dear, dear friend, Wikipedia. So Fantastic Mr. Fox is a 2009 American animated adventure comedy film directed by Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson. We're going to talk about that a lot. From a screenplay by Anderson and Noah Baumbach. I think that's how you say his last name, but I could be a little bit wrong. So sorry, Noah. Um, and based on the novel of the same name by Roald Dahl. I think that's how you say his name. The guy that wrote James and the Giant Peach and is it the GFK? The giant friendly
BFG.
BFG. Thank you. I knew it
I'm
was,
surprised I remembered that.
yeah, I knew it was something, something giant, but I kept thinking JFK in my head, and I was like, it's not JFK.
That's not it.
Anderson revealed that he signed on because Roald Dahl was one of his heroes, and it features stop motion animation. And it's crazy to me that in the few episodes of this podcast we have done, how much we have talked about stop motion. But we've talked about it so much, and I promise we'll talk about other things at other points, but I guess we're just on a stop motion kick at the moment. Production began in 2006. Wes Anderson signed on as director with Henry Selick as animation director. However, Henry Selick left the project to work on the Neil Gaiman story Coraline in February 2006 because Henry Selick directed Coraline, another one of my favorites. So the fact that he was involved at all and brought on, it's like you could have sold the movie to me already, just with knowing that Wes Anderson and him were involved. And I don't know how much work he actually did on the movie, but by September 2007, voice work on the film began. Anderson chose to record the voices outside rather than in a studio. And this is a quote from him. We went out in a forest, went in an attic, and went in a stable. We went underground for some things. There was great spontaneity in the recordings because of that. And the voices were recorded before any animation was done. And so I think I'm going to talk about Wes Anderson a lot more towards the end, but he's one of my favorite filmmakers. And the main reason is that you can tell so much heart and thought goes into his movies. And he seems like, and I don't know this for a fact, but he seems like the type that he's only going to take on or make movies that he wants to make. He's not just going to direct whatever for a paycheck, which, there's nothing wrong with that. People gotta pay the bills. But I think it's just really special when someone only kind of tries to take on kind of passion projects, because then you get a really, really great product at the end.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, because I feel like, you can still make something decent, even if your heart's not, like, completely in it, or not 100% invested.
Yeah.
But it's when you go with it with a well-thought-out intention that it really becomes something that's captivating, because you've thought it out really well.
Yeah, and you have a lot of, like, stock in what you're making because it means more to you. And speaking of recording the voices, the cast is like very much a star-studded cast. And the other thing I like about Wes Anderson is that he has some of the same actors in multiple of his movies. So you kind of almost, not always, there's always different people in every movie, but you see some of the same players that come back to play new characters in his other movies. And to me, and this is just me putting this in my brain, but to me it feels like a bunch of friends getting together and making a fun movie. And I don't know how much of that is true, but so I'll just go through some of the really well-known actors that are in it. So Mr. Fox is played by George Clooney. And I feel like that was such a good call, because I feel like Mr. Fox feels almost very George Clooney-ish, very like not arrogant, but very self-confident, and kind of has this swagger to him, and is a smooth talker, stuff like that. Meryl Streep plays Felicity Fox, who's Mr. Fox's wife, and those two together are like the perfect married couple.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right? Some other big names are Jason Schwartzman. He's in a lot of Wes Anderson's movies. Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, Michael Gambon, who you might not recognize Michael Gambon's name, but he played Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. The later ones.
That would make sense.
Yep. And then Owen Wilson.
Okay, I see now.
Yes.
Yeah, Owen Wilson. Oh, that man.
And Owen Wilson is in quite a few of... Some of the people that come back for a lot of Wes Anderson movies are Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, and Owen Wilson. I feel like I see those people in a lot of his movies.
Yeah, that would make sense. See, Owen Wilson, I just think of Nightmare. Or Night at the Museum. I can't see him in anything else half the time.
Yeah, I think of Marley and Me whenever I think of Owen Wilson.
Or that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That or, George Clooney. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm young, right? George Clooney is old man. We're just setting the facts straight. I know who he is, and I know him more now because of it. But, like, I didn't really know much about him. But me and the parentals watched... it started in, like, 19-something, but there's an old TV series called ER, and it has a bunch of other people in it. But he's in it. He's, like, I think he's the ER, like, pediatric doctor specifically in that show. That's, like, the only thing that I actually know him from.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's in other movies, but it's, like, that's automatically. I'm like, oh, I know who that is now
Yeah.
because of that show, which
Yeah,
that is also very good.
he's been in a ton of stuff. Very, very famous, very popular. Back to some Wikipedia facts on production. Anderson, regarding the production design, said his intention was to use real trees and sand for the sets, but it's all miniature, obviously. To capture an
Mm-hmm.
autumnal aesthetic, there's no frame in the film that lacks the color orange, which is so cool. It is such a fall movie. I watch it every fall usually because all of the trees are in fall colors. There's like rolling hills of the farms are all orange. Mr. Fox wears an orange suit so that you get the orange a lot because that's what he wears. And they're foxes.
Mm-hmm.
They're orange, you know? And so it creates this really nice cohesiveness, but also really nice coziness to it. And it reminds me of, if you want a film fun fact, the Fiddler on the Roof movie from, I believe, the 1970s. I learned this in a
Mm.
film class. They wanted it to look very like warm, but also kind of aged in a way. And so what they did was they took like a nylon that, church ladies wear and put it over the film lens. So then it all looks a little grainy, but also warm and like a little fuzzy, if that makes sense. And it kind of gives the film a kind of distinct look. And sometimes when the light is just right, you can kind of see the pattern of it's like a stocking that's on the camera. So like if you're watching for it, you can kind of tell like, oh, there's a stocking over the film lens. So just little creative things like that. It kind of gave me similar vibes of always having the color orange in every single frame. And sometimes it's hard to find, but so much of it is those warm orange yellow colors. There's a scene, and I'm not going to give any spoilers for the movie because it's just really good and everyone should go watch it. But there's a scene where they're in the cellar where almost all that's stored in the cellar is apple cider. And so it's all these glass bottles of this warm amber colored apple cider.
Mm.
And when the lights go on and it looks incredible. And knowing that it's stop motion and it's all in miniature, you're like, wow. And you have these characters like, running through these apple cider bottles. And it's just, oh, I love it so much.
That's like fantastic. That sounds beautiful. I'll have to watch this because I haven't seen
You
this show at
should.
all.
You would really like it,
Um,
especially being an animal person, because it's all animals. It's a
mm-hmm,
cast of
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
animals.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to watch this.
So, animation took place in London at Three Mills Studios, and the puppets were created by McKinnon and Saunders, who you might recognize. They made the puppets for The Corpse Bride and a bunch of other things
Mm,
that I didn't recognize. I went on their website. They
okay.
also made, and I didn't know this, do you remember the like original Bob the Builder show? They kind of looked like clay.
Yes!
Yes, they did the
Yes!
puppets for that show as well, which is
Oh
really
my
cool.
goodness. Oh,
Yeah.
childhood.
So Wes Anderson directed the crew, but a lot of the same crew also worked on The Corpse Bride. So these
Mm,
are people who are probably well versed in stop motion. So I got this from stopmotionmagazine.com. A staff of 140 worked every day, paying special attention to the smallest details, developing 126 different sets and over 4,000 props. One of the challenges in production was the different scenes, some of them jumping from wide shots to close ups. For this purpose, production made 6 different puppet sizes. For the full shots, they used puppets no bigger than 2 inches, which think of how small 2 inches is. And
it's
think of your
tiny.
articulating little hands and ears and limbs that are
Mm-mm,
only a whole 2 inches, and you're making a whole stop motion production. It's
mm-mm,
crazy. And
mm-mm.
12-inch articulated puppets for the close ups. The handmade quality of the film gave it such a warm feeling that just for the materials alone is such a fun film to watch. For smoke, production used cotton to keep that handmade feel. Wes Anderson decided to maintain that handmade feel in all of the movie. And that's the other thing I really love about it is that it feels homemade, but it's still like professional level. So using the smoke for
Mm-hmm.
cotton is so cool. It's just it I don't know, there's just something about it that feels so special. And like I said, it feels like a bunch of buddies getting together and making this cool film,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a completely professional level movie.
Yeah. And that's another part of stop motion is one, just the patience of being able to do all of those little movements on those
Mm-hmm.
little itty bitty characters. Like that in and of itself is a feat because I don't think I'd have the patience.
No, me neither.
But then it's like, obviously for any movie, usually there's some sort of homemade set and homemade thing. But then it's like on top of it, at least from what it seems like you're describing, it's like everything is miniature. So you can't just like take the normal sized and put it in because that's not going to work. And so it's like all that creativity of deciding, okay, we want smoke. How do we do that? Oh, cotton. Let's try that. And then like have it work and have it pay off.
Yeah.
I can imagine the brainstorming that would have to go on of like, oh, I want this effect. How do we get that in this scenario?
Yeah.
And trying to work that out.
Yeah. Even like the clothes that all of the animals wear, it feels like your grandma made them in your kitchen for your toys. Like, but they still look professional, obviously. You say homemade, but that doesn't mean bad, but it just feels very intentional, but also like kind of one of a kind in a way. And it just makes it feel very special.
Well, and it's just like, like obviously you make costumes for these little itty bitty tiny people. And I feel like it's, at least from how you're describing it, everything is with intention. So like even though everything looks with that homemade feel, like that's the effect that makes it look so nice, and it matches the aesthetic with how the set and the characters look.
Yeah, the film soundtrack featured a selection of songs from the Beach Boys, the Bobby Fuller Four, Burl Ives, the Rolling Stones, and other artists. An original score composed by Alexander Desplat? Sorry, I'm not saying that name right. I meant to look up pronunciation, but I apologize. The film received Academy Award nominations for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score. Unfortunately, it didn't win either of those, but a nomination is still pretty impressive. To give a little bit of context on what the movie's about, I'm going to keep it vague. I'm not going to give any spoilers. So it's set in the 1970s, and that's kind of fun because also like the clothing and the cars kind of has that old-timey feel, but also I don't know why in my head the 1970s feels like an orange decade. And very, you know what I mean? And so I just feel like it's set in the right time for like the color scheme, but also what's going on in the movie. So a spree of thefts led by Mr. Fox results in his family and later his community being hunted down by three farmers. The farmers' names are Walt Bogus, Nate Bunce, and Frank Bean. And in the very beginning of the movie, there's this little song that kids sing about the farmers. I will read it to you, but there's like a cute little, kind of like a nursery rhyme sort of thing. And it's Bogus and Bunce and Bean, one fat, one short, one lean. These horrible crooks, so different in looks, were nonetheless equally mean. So it's like Bogus, Bunce, and Bean, one short, one fat, one lean. Anyway, I'm gonna cut that part out. But then the tune of how that goes, it is really cute. But then the tune of how that goes pops up at different points in the movie. So it feels so cozy, and I don't know, I love it so much.
Yeah, no, that sounds cozy.
It is. I love it. So the very first scene of the movie, this is the most I'm going to get into, the actual plot. So while raiding Burke's squab farm, Mr. Fox triggers a fox trap, caging himself along with his wife Felicity, and she pleads with him to find a safer job if they escape, and he agrees. And then we jump forward into time 12 years. And then the movie continues on from there. So you can already kind of see this tension between Mr. Fox is kind of he's a thief just at the end of the day and likes to raid these farms, but she makes him promise to not do that anymore because it's not safe. So some of the themes that come up in the movie, I'll kind of go through a couple of them because something that I really love about Wes Anderson movies is that it doesn't shy away from like hard topics or like the difficult things that happen in life, but it doesn't dwell on them too long to where you're bummed out. It kind of, there's a certain amount of just acceptance of like, this is how life is, and life is kind of hard, and we just kind of have to continue on the best way we can. So it's this perfect balance between not shying away from difficult things. So the movie has a lot of substance in that way and a lot of emotional complexity, but it's still light and fun and like easy to watch. So it's nice because it's not just a hour and a half cartoon without a lot of substance, but it's also not this like bummer cartoon either, you know? So it's the perfect balance
Mm-hmm.
of feeling like you watched something that made you think about life while also keeping it lighthearted and fun. And I haven't seen every single one of Wes Anderson's movies, but that's something I've noticed about all of the ones that I have watched have that sort of balance. And I just think that's so, it's probably really hard to do, but it's also very intentional and just something that I really appreciate.
Well, and I feel like that's a hard thing in movies. First it's what you're in the mood for. Because if you just want like a funny, goofy movie that doesn't have much context, if you're in sort of a serious mood, that movie's not going to be fun for you. You're not going to like it in that moment because that's,
Mm-hmm.
not how you're feeling. And so it's a nice thing in a movie when it's got that like balance where it kind of feels more like real life in a way, where there's, hard times and good times, but then there's like a deep enough dive to where it's like you feel the feelings, but it doesn't stay so deep that you feel like you're stuck, and then it's less fun, and then it becomes just like this movie you watch when you're depressed type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It covers a lot on gluttony and greed, not only between the animals, but also the farmers. So that's kind of the big conflict in the movie is between the community of animals and then the farmers, obviously. I think some of the other big themes it talks about is like selfishness and hardship and social inequality in a way that's a little, I say that, but it's not in the typical context that it usually is. But also with the kids and the younger animals, it touches a lot on like fitting in and pressure to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
But also having your own individuality and kind of like, yeah, I'm different from everybody else, but I don't want to be different, slash accepting that everybody is different in a way. The other thing that I really love watching is that Mr. Fox, um, by the end of the movie, kind of comes to terms with himself, but also who he is as a husband and a father. And you kind of see him take this journey throughout the movie. And that's a really cool character arc to see.
Always good for like the main character to have a lot of attention to detail and context, because obviously you want to pay attention to everything, especially like, between your set and your side characters and all of that, because that's what helps bring everything to a whole. But at the same time, the like main focus should be the main character, and trying to show some character growth so that the audience can somewhat relate to the main character, because I feel like that's a big thing in movies
Yeah.
that make them good.
Yeah, for sure. So there is a movie review from A.O. Scott. I don't know who that is, but I think he's a popular movie critic. And I'm just going to read his review because it's like a paragraph long, but it kind of perfectly encapsulates everything that I love about this movie. So, according to him, in some ways, Wes Anderson's most fully realized and satisfying film. Once you adjust to its stop and start rhythms and its scruffy looks, you can appreciate its wit, its beauty, and the sly gravity of its emotional undercurrents. The work done by the animation director, Mark Gustafsson, by the director of photography, Tristan Oliver, and by the production designer, Nelson Lowry, shows amazing ingenuity and skill. And the music, with the usual shuffle of well chosen pop tunes, famous and obscure, is both eccentric and just right. And I think that's the perfect way to sum it up is that I love the way it looks. I love the way the film runs. I love the way it feels. I love the characters and I love the premise of the movie and the emotional journey you see all of the characters go on. And it just feels like almost the perfect movie, to be honest. So, to touch a little bit on the stop motion, it's different than other stop motion movies. So, it says specifically in the review that it's stop and start rhythms and it's scruffy looks. And watching it for the first time can be a little not jarring, but it feels a little different because it does kind of like feel a little clunky when you watch it for the first time because it doesn't run quite as smooth as like a typical movie. It kind of feels a little more like artsy, a little more art house of like, you know, shots that maybe don't make a lot of sense when you're watching it for the first time because it's not done quite as cleanly as typical stop motion films are done, but I think that was done very much on purpose. So it can be a little jolting at first to watch it, but you get used to it, and then that kind of makes you love it all the more because it feels different. And I guess like the pacing can be a little weird, and kind of the jump cuts can feel a little clunky, but it is all on purpose, and you learn to kind of love it, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Well, and it's kind of like that. I mean, one from all of the stuff that you've said, it seems like this crew of people that always keep coming back to do these movies, and it always ends up good because it's just like that perfect combination of people. But then it's also, I feel like one of the great things about stop motion is that it's you build it from the ground up. That's with every movie, but it's like it's literally every little bit of it. But then I feel like there's also more room for experimentation because you're not limited to like human capabilities as much. You know, it's not about what an actor can and can't do and what is possible to like achieve on set because you're literally dealing with this like clay figure. And sure, that's probably still difficult, but there's more variety that you can have in that. And it also kind of seems like this director is one of those directors where they try and push the limits. They try and do things that wouldn't typically be done. And I feel like those are typically all of these things are the mixed ingredients that make movies so good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just something with Wes Anderson specifically. That's kind of all of his movies are that way, where they're just run different than typical movies. And it's kind of a you either love it or hate it type of thing, I guess. And that's what I love about it, is that when you sit down to watch a Wes Anderson movie, you don't really know exactly where it's going to go. Versus a lot of movies that are just kind of your run of the mill, you can sit down and you're like, okay, I kind of know how this is probably going to go. But they don't feel that way with Wes Anderson movies. The other thing that's different, and this is what he's probably the most famous for, is for having shots that are centered. So you'll see the character dead center, which seems like it would be obvious, but actually they really don't do that in movies very much. They follow most of the time the rule of thirds. And this is I majored in film for 2 years of college knowledge coming out right now. So the rule of thirds is if you take a movie screen and you split it in thirds vertically. So think you'll have like two lines that split it in thirds, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time characters are on one of those third lines. So they're kind of off center to one side or the other. Why is that the thing? I don't know, but that's how most movies run and are made. But Wes Anderson does a lot of center shots. He still follows like the rule of thirds sometimes, but then you have these perfectly centered shots where you have a character dead center. And it is one of those things where, yeah, it might seem weird at first, but then it's just a style that you kind of learn to love. Or you hate it and you don't like Wes Anderson movies. And I mean, that's okay. It's not for everybody. But I just like that it's something different. I like you said, he's someone that kind of pushes the limits. And I appreciate that. And I like the creativity of, I don't want to make a movie like everybody else makes a movie. I want to make it my way.
I sense a theme.
Yes. Yes.
Today.
And it's,
and I find it,
yeah.
And it's so funny because it's not even planned.
No, it's not.
Because, yeah, if anyone's been listening this long, we don't tell each other what our topics are. I mean, Halloween, we said we were going to go with a spooky theme. That's about the gist of what we did. But we still just chose our own topics and didn't say anything.
It's been a surprise to us once we sit down to record. So just to wrap up, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yes.
If I had to describe the movie in one word, it would be charming. And that's how I would describe probably all of Wes Anderson's movies if I had to use one word. You just love the characters, and you can tell how much heart goes into it. And some of the characters, not all of them, but a lot of them are just so likable. And even if they don't make great choices, you just like can't help but love them. And I think a lot of his characters are kind of anti-heroes in that way, where they're not your typical like perfect person, but they just have so many likable qualities to them. And the fact that most of his movies are pretty cozy, I would say. Not all of them, but they have a warm, fuzzy feeling to them. But it's strange because they have that feeling, but then they also still deal with like, hard topics and hard things emotionally. And it kind of goes back to that balance I was talking about. So it's perfect in that it's stimulating to watch because some of the shots look different and some of the cuts are different, but then it also is very emotionally complex, but also very emotionally smart. On top of you have all of these likable characters, and they're very humorous too. But it's one of those where it's like I'm an adult and I watch it every year, and it doesn't feel kids would enjoy it too, but it doesn't feel like it's just supposed to be strictly a kids movie. I love this movie so much, and I could sit and gush about it forever. So everyone should go watch it. Even if you don't watch it, look up just like still screen grabs from the movie, and it's just beautiful. I could just go on and on about all of the things that I love about it, and it's definitely top 10 of one of my favorite movies, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
So there you have it. Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, that's fantastic. It is fantastic.
It is. And I would love to. I don't know how closely the story follows from the book. I think the book is a shorter, children's book. So one of these days I'll have to get my hands on it and read it.
Yeah, but I will definitely have to watch that because it seems like my jam.
Yeah, so that's our homework. I will listen to the Epic the Musical soundtrack, and you will watch Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yep, there we go.
Look at us. We're teaching each other good things.
Well, we hope you all enjoyed this episode's topics and everything that we talked about. If you have not watched our episodes before this one, you should go watch those. We should have 3 other episodes, including one that is Halloween themed. And Katie shares great stories.
Yes. If you want to hear my ghost stories, go listen to that.
Exactly. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our past episodes, if you would leave us a rating on Spotify, would be very fantastic. That would give us great feedback that we are not just speaking into the abyss for only our ears to hear.
Yeah.
So if you're there, let us know you're there. Stay tuned for our next episode in 2 weeks, where we will share more topics.
Yes.
So we hope everyone is doing great out there. And this is us saying goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.